All right. Now, in the first part of this interview, we left off talking about how some guys are getting into the seduction community. They're being built up to believe that they've got it all together. They know what they're doing. And they're looking to celebrate mediocrity. By that I mean they're getting a number close, a Facebook close, an email close. When I started this years ago, there was only one type of close. If you had sex with the girl. If you went all the way and had sex with the girl, that was the only close that counts. Everything else is a step in that process.
Yes.
I have a theory that in order to build up guys' confidence, they're told, no, look, you got a phone number, that's a number close. And I'm thinking, this is the dumbest thing. So what if the guy gets a phone number or an email or whatnot? Most of the time, women will give that type of contact information, assuming it's even correct, and it's not a flake. They'll give that just because, okay, they're polite, they're following a social norm, but they have no intention of following up. That's to me is meaningless when you've been given 20 leads and all of them end up flat. Right. So I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to build up these guys initially, but I think that this is not a good thing, because you have these guys who build themselves up as, oh yeah, well, I can get 5 phone numbers in a night. So what? Are you having sex with anybody by the end of the week? And if the answer is no, maybe you shouldn't be bragging so much. You haven't earned it. And I wanted your thoughts on that.
Well, I'd say they need to count up their receipts. Yes, you're absolutely right, Frank. These guys are under the opinion that if they close, they won. And no, you haven't won. You have to go on what we call checkmate. Checkmate is your dick. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, your checkmate is your dick between her ass cheeks. That's checkmate. That's the end game. That is the result of you. This is what you want. This is why you go to these guys, because you want to sleep with these women. That's the only reason you're doing all this. And you think that you are succeeding because you got a phone number. And again, this is the same thing I'm telling you before. It's ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. You are not even in the game. If this was a football game, you're not even in the stadium yet playing. You're at home sleeping. Getting a phone number has nothing whatsoever to do with the game. And it might be hurting some feelings here and shocking people, but no. And if you think it is, then you are the kind of guy that my guys love, because then you quit, you submit, and you fold. And like you're saying, Frank, you're absolutely right, man. It's a shame that these guys are such great marketers, where they take a bunch of women and say, here you go, here's a bag of magic beans. If you take these magic beans and put them in your backyard and pour a little water on it, guess what's going to happen? A beanstalk. And you climb that beanstalk, and in there is going to be all the women that you want. All the women and the magic gooses and all that. And besides that, they're Smurfs and unicorns. You can have it all. And you can get it all for a 2-day seminar on phone numbers. And that's what they're doing. They're giving them magic beans, man. It's sad.
I went to a seduction layer, I'm not going to say which one, and I was giving a guest lecturer speech, and one of the guys was asking a question exactly about this. I'm so focused on getting the phone numbers and so on and so forth, and I was trying to explain to him, look, getting the phone number is only part of a process, but you're focusing so much on that you're not even thinking that, and when he relayed the story, he wasn't even conscious enough to realize that she was basically saying, hey, let's kind of go upstairs back to my place right now. And he was insisting, well, no, first you have to get the number, then you have to get this. And so I said, okay, stop. I just asked the large room in place, and I said, okay, guys, how many of you have had sex with a girl and you never got her phone number? And when a few hands went up, obviously these guys were more senior guys who were a little older, had a little bit more life experience. Mm-hmm. The one guy there was sitting there looking at them like, oh my God, you never got her phone number and she still had sex with you? And one guy started talking about how he had sex with a girl that lived in his building. He never even got her first name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now this is not something that necessarily happens every day to every single person out there.
Right.
But the fact is, these things do happen, And no,
Yes.
you don't need to follow a specific formula. If you have nothing else, follow the formula. It'll get you somewhere. But to get so caught up, focusing on elements in the process and losing sight of the fact, okay, you want to have sex with that girl at some point. And even after you have sex, you would agree with this, I would think, that you start having sex with him, it's not the end of just the phase of it, it's the beginning of a whole new dynamic.
Man, oh my God, you want to take it there, man. That's something that you have to do. Frank, I'm bowing to you right now because you're so right, man. And that's what we have to try to teach you guys. Guys, to be a complete man, you have to know self. You have to know women. You have to understand dating and understand sex. If you don't have those 4 components down, it's like having a $500,000 car with no gas in it, or $1 million house with no electricity. And that's why like Frank was saying, a phone number only scratches the surface because the surface is so deep. The rabbit hole goes on and on and on. And like you were saying, if any guy questions me or any guy questions you, I tell these kind of guys like this: you don't want to learn, because you know what? In order for you to get it, you have to listen to guys who've already been there, been in the war, been in the battle. But if you don't want to listen, you don't want to learn. If you question what we tell you to do, then you don't want to learn. I cannot question a law. If I want to learn law and I go to a lawyer and he tells me the steps that I need to take to learn, and I question it, who am I to question somebody who's already been there and done it before? But the difference between what Frank and I do and everyone else does, we have morals. We have ethics. We're not here just to see you as a dollar. We're here to see you become a better man. And I don't think a lot of guys really, can get that, Frank.
No, they can't. I recently released a 3-CD set on how to be the ethical seducer in direct response to what I've been seeing happening, where these guys are turning into monsters in the name of trying to get good with women. You have guys who really, all they wanted was either to get one particular girl or to just have a girlfriend. That's what they came into this for. They wanted to get themselves a girlfriend. And they start adopting some dysfunctional behaviors. Getting into the habit of lying to women. Getting into the habit of, and please understand, I'm not trying to diss anybody specifically. I think it's good to experiment with your wardrobe. I've done it. I think it's good to push the boundaries of your comfort zone and where you're comfortable. But to go to the point of becoming someone else and becoming a clone of people who are out there, as opposed to finding your own interests and developing those, I think is unethical, because you're not telling your own stories in a seductive way. You're just telling somebody else's stories, passing them off as your own.
Absolutely.
And in the end, these guys, the students themselves, are turning into monsters. They're going to get hurt emotionally in this. They're going to become even more misogynistic than when they first arrived into the community. So I put out that ethical seducer program to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Let's change direction here. I want to talk to you about the Ezone show. Tell me all about the Ezone show.
Well, I have for years now, over 12 years, have been trying to explain to the deception community and any guy out there what women really think, because I used to be a gigolo. At 14, my first piece of tail was a 24-year-old stripper who was married, bisexual, taught me how to have sex. I learned this from a woman. I have slept with countless orgies, group sex, you name it. I've done it all. So what I thought about, you know what?